Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tortured Poets podcast with Justine Sones and Mallory Jardine. This is the chugging beer out of plastic cups edition. We're so happy to have you. Um, Mallory, did you know we got our first YouTube comment?
No, what?
I deliberately didn't tell you this until we hit record.
Wait, I thought you were
So,
going to say I deliberately made the comment.
no, I mean, I deliberately replied to the comment, but Ricky 48888, so four
Okay.
and four eighths, said maybe be a little more mature and call Joe by his name instead of the ridiculous spelled with an E. So ridiculous yogurt thing, whatever, wherever that stupid thing came from, probably from idiotic TikTok. Thank you, Ricky. So
I'm
I said,
so excited.
I
We got our first troll.
I
Our
know.
first comment was a troll.
I know.
How did we
I
make it
said,
this far so fast?
we aren't too fussed about maturity because we're having some fun. No disrespect to Joe. We're sure he's fine. Thanks for watching.
And yogurt's delicious.
Yogurt's
So
delicious. I love yogurt personally. I love frozen yogurt. It's not always
if I
what I want
wasn't
to eat.
lactose intolerant, I would love yogurt.
I
It
keep
doesn't love
discovering I'm
me.
lactose intolerant, denying it, and then rediscovering it like an idiot.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Ricky, for 8888. We boop. Cheers you.
I will cheers you with I'm drinking an ale tonight in the flavor of ginger.
Oh, that's so flu in the mid 90s of you. You
Blue
know?
in the mid 90s.
Flu, like when you get sick as a
Oh,
kid and your mom would
flu.
give you
Yes.
ginger ale when it's like, "Oh, you're sick, let me give you pop."
Yeah, and it's pretty flat right now too, so it would do the trick should I be feeling nauseous.
Good for us. Well, speaking of feeling nauseous, that's not the greatest segue. But what do we have to dig into in the world of celebrities and Taylor Swift today, Mallory? Where shall we begin?
Okay, so let's start off with this big bombshell that I haven't even had a chance to look into yet, so I'm kind of scrolling through it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but imagine my shock when I opened up my Google trending topics this morning and it said Taylor Swift's dad allegedly assaulted a paparazzi in Australia. So I did not have time to read it at that time because I was just beginning my shift at work. And then I heard on the radio announcer said something about this story about Taylor Swift's dad having an altercation with paparazzi. So I'm kind of just scrolling on what's this website? BuzzFeed News.
Like, are we talking physical assault?
So that's what I'm trying
Verbal
to figure
assault?
out. So a spokesperson for Taylor, and this comes from BuzzFeed News, which again,
Okay.
it's just a tabloid. So
Okay.
who knows? The only
It's
people who
BuzzFeed.
really know are the people who are there.
Sure.
So a spokesperson for Taylor did not comment on the assault claims, but did issue a statement that reads, two individuals are aggressively pushing their way towards Taylor, grabbing at her security personnel, and threatening to throw a female staff member into the water. So,
Hmm.
hmm, I'm
So,
not exactly sure what her dad did, but if we're being fair, if someone was charging at me, hell yeah, my dad would be throwing arms to
well,
protect his little girl.
that's the thing that I'm a little bit curious about. And again, I know like literally nothing other than you bringing it up at this moment, but what was the instigating thing that led to Scott's alleged assault? Because at this point, like his daughter has been in the limelight for 20 years, call it. Is
Mhm.
that right? Pretty
Yeah,
close.
17, I think. No more than that.
Since like
17.
2004,
Six.
2005 is like when I remember her coming on
I
the
think
scene.
2006 is when when debut came out.
Okay, well, so let's call it 15 to 20 years.
Hmm.
And there has yet to be a headline of this nature. It's like
Yeah.
what pushed him to that point, allegedly.
Yes. And this
And Like, because paparazzi aren't known for being the most polite people in the land.
Well, and their job is to literally be the opposite of polite because they're trying to catch people in their absolute worst
Which I
moment,
which I
which
just
is
hate.
it should be illegal. It blows my mind that that wouldn't be considered verbal abuse or
Assault
defamatory
first.
or right? Like
Yes.
it's blows my mind that these things are okay as long as the
Yeah.
person is a celebrity.
Well, and isn't that the interesting thing? Because, and that kind of brings me to like something that we've been like skirting around. We meant to record this episode like probably what 2 weeks ago, whenever the Super Bowl was, what a
There's
time.
yes.
And we deliberately haven't talked about this since then, but because we're talking about, I don't know, like feelings and safety and expression. Can you hear my puppy whining, by the way? He has like massive separation anxiety and he is choked that he's on the other side of the door right now.
Oh, he
I
may need to
know.
become a guest to
I
Celebrity
know. He might have
Podcast.
to join us in here, but anyway, one of the big topics of conversation after the Super Bowl was not just the fact that the Chiefs won, but one of the things that happened along the way where Travis yelled at his coach,
Mhm.
and the way that people responded to that was incredibly strong.
Yeah, people had
And
opinions.
so, yeah, and so like the thread here that I'm trying to like pull through the invisible string
Mhm.
would
Mhm.
be this concept of and okay, I'm like really choosing my words deliberately here because this
As
is
you
kind of
have to,
you
because
have
it's
to.
a
And so
very
like
sensitive topic. Yeah.
I just am hoping that whatever I say is received with the grace of that I intend to deliver it. But I
Mhm.
think that there's a real conversation about the tolerance that we have for male feelings. Like I remember when I first started reading Brene Brown's stuff and she was talking about vulnerability and she mentioned that like she had spoken to a man who came up to her after one of the talks and it's like this is all well and good that you're talking about vulnerability, but like my wife and daughters would rather see me die on my white horse than show any weakness. So there's this like double-edged sword where we want men to be emotional and open and vulnerable, but not like that. We don't like when it's done in a certain way.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I also think too that it just comes off that masculine energy sometimes comes off different than a feminine energy in a high emotional state,
Mm-hmm.
such as what was happening on the sidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, the picture looks awful. It literally looks like he's just shouting in an old man's face,
Yeah.
which he was.
When I first saw it, and like I want to mention that the way that I've felt about this interaction has changed the more that I sat with it.
Mhm,
Okay. So when I first saw it, I was terrified of that man from a distance in
mhm,
terms of like you're a scary human being
mhm.
when you are unleashed.
Yes.
So that is true. We're looking at multiple things being true.
Yes. Yeah.
So that is true that my initial reaction is like, holy crap, that's scary.
Mhm, mhm,
But then to unpack it in the aftermath and hear, the things that, his coach said about what their dynamic is and how he encourages emotional expression in his players and how this is considered to be like a safe space for them to be in that.
yes.
And
Yeah.
like, when I think about how I've acted in times of extreme stress in my life,
Mhm,
most of the time that happens behind closed doors. My
and
most stressful moments were in the privacy of my home.
yes.
Do I want to be
And
judged on that? No.
not even just stress, but so I listened to the New Heights podcast, which if you don't know what that is, that's Jason Kelce and Travis Kelce's podcast
I'm gonna get my
together.
dog. Keep talking.
Yep. Where they went over everything that happened in the Super Bowl, and of course they had to touch on this very infamous now situation.
Yeah.
And I was actually very respectful. This feels really weird. Are you still in the
I'm
room?
still here. Sorry. Just trying
Okay.
to get my dog to go in his crate.
Okay. Yeah, so I was actually very impressed with Jason because Jason I don't know, did you end up watching the New Heights podcast?
I saw the clip where they were addressing it, I
Yes.
think.
And I was very impressed with Jason because he called Travis out
Mhm.
on his behavior and how it wasn't necessarily appropriate.
Mhm.
Um, and I think, and Travis agreed it wasn't appropriate. However, and I'm not saying a but because a but excuses everything that you've just said. I feel like a
Mhm.
however, um, kind of it kind of
Or like an
opens up a
and.
new thought. Yes,
Yeah, like
and
but is a stop and is a bridge.
yes, exactly. So it was not appropriate. However, when you're in that situation and your passion is fired up, emotions run high
Mhm.
and we react based on our emotions. And just like
Mhm.
you said, that's a safe space. I can
Mhm.
guarantee you that at some point in coach, I think his name is Reed,
Andy Reid, yeah.
Andy Reid, in his football career, I can guarantee he probably had the same sort of interaction along the way with either another player or a coach himself. Sports are highly emotional. I'm
Yes.
a hockey mom to a boy who plays in U9 hockey, and I watched a mother get kicked out of the arena a month ago because she was so upset because her son got knocked to the ground and they didn't stop the play. And
Mm.
worrying about hockey is that's the thing is you don't blow the whistle if they fall in front of their own net because if they
Mhm.
did, then you would have players who constantly acted up and did that to
Yeah,
stop a play,
yeah. Yep.
right? So however, I understand the mother yelling at the ref and screaming at him because all she was seeing was her young boy
Mhm.
on the ice not responding to the game no longer.
Mhm.
But yeah, emotions run high. And
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean that because of the way he displayed himself that he is an angry, abusive, reactive human being.
Yes. When people were like, "Oh, that's a red flag." I'm just like, "No, what would have been
No,
a
it's
red
not.
flag for me is if," and that's where I think like what happens after the fact is so important to address because
Mhm.
if after the fact he had excused it, he had denied it, he had like done anything other than take full and complete accountability
Yes.
and responsibility for his actions,
Mhm.
that would have been different. But
Mhm.
also like I think one of the things that ends up happening, so there's a couple things that are like competing in my mind right now, trying to come out at once. And so one of them, I think I already lost one, so that's great. I'll just focus on the other.
ADHD. You cannot have no.
I'm like our insurance lapped a little bit, so I'm like off my ADHD meds. And holy wow, if I wondered whether or not they did anything before, do I know it now? So
Yep.
just saying
Yep.
that. Um, but But one of the things that really got me was like, oh yeah, when people are saying like, yeah, this is a red flag, for me, it's how you deal with something in the aftermath that says so much more about your character. It's not what you do,
Mhm.
it's what happens after.
Mhm.
Maybe I have three things. Look at me go. And then the other thing is just that, like, I think that to expect that he's going to behave perfectly and above reproach at all times is dehumanizing. And I
Yeah.
think that, like, society in general has a habit of dehumanizing celebrities by putting them on pedestals. Like, when we think about dehumanizing, we think about making someone below us, like doing debased things. But
Mhm.
the reality is that dehumanizing is just taking away someone's humanity. And part of what makes us human is our imperfection. And so when we put people on a pedestal and say, at probably the peak stressful moment of your entire life, you are not allowed to lose it for
Mhm.
even a second.
Mhm.
And that's not fair. And I also like when it comes to sports being emotional, like sports were originally created to occupy armies when they were in between combat, to literally burn off
Mhm.
aggression, to foster camaraderie, to achieve all of those things.
We're
That's
learning,
like,
folks. This is a lesson.
now you
Teach.
know. So that's like literally where it started is to be a healthy outlet to channel
Yes.
aggression.
Yes.
And and so and then what I understand from what I read about Andy Reid in particular as a coach is that he really encourages that sense of emotional safety with his players. So I believe he has a sad and complicated history with his own children, and that has very heavily influenced the way that he coaches. And so we see someone like Travis, and the public persona is very specific, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yep.
But like, kid got kicked out of preschool for like what, throwing a chair at his teacher?
Who
Like
did?
Travis.
Oh,
So
okay. Didn't
emotional
know that.
regulation and control has always kind of been a thing for him. And my understanding is that when he started working with Andy Reid, it created a very positive outlet for him to channel and contain these
Mhm.
things, and it was really good for him.
Mhm.
However, in that is those outlets for expression, and when
Mm.
that was witnessed on TV, people
Yes.
freaked the fuck out because it was
Well, the fact that they
scary.
were
Because it
saying
was
that he's
scary.
gonna start hitting Taylor and run Taylor, this is the signs of an abusive man,
No.
like,
And this is part of where it's like
this was one incident. This was
and
one highly televised under the microscope incident.
yes, and if Andy
I
Reid
have
came
had
out
arguments in my own marriage where I've probably yelled louder, and
and
it
that's
was
the
never a
thing.
threat. It was never a threat. It was just emotion and not being able to regulate it and
Yep,
needing to get it out. But my husband is also a safe person to me.
and
And
that's
so
one of the
feeling safe and being able to react like that around
yeah.
that person.
And that's one of the things that I think people really miss when it comes to these kinds of dynamics is that they forget to have a conversation about the power dynamic at play,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
with you and your husband, with me and my husband, like you're meeting as like intellectual, emotional equals theoretically, like you're holding that mutual space for each other. In the
Mm-hmm.
case of us meeting our kids, for example, it's our job to create a safe space for our kids to come and yell and scream and rage
Yes.
and say, it's
Yeah.
okay. You're allowed to feel that way. I got you.
Exactly.
And I can't help but think that in a situation like this, I trust that the consenting adults in that dynamic have
Yes.
had their own conversations to set their
Yes.
boundaries, to understand what's going on and create
Yes.
something mutually beneficial. And the energy that we saw blow up at Andy Reid is
Mhm.
the same energy that moved the team to tears before
Mhm.
the game with a speech. And it's the
Yep.
same energy that,
Mhm.
like a frat bro hooligan, he got up to the mic and goes, we have the right or fight for the right to
Yeah.
party. It's like, could you be a bigger meathead?
Yeah.
No, I
Oh,
love
yeah.
him.
Big meathead energy. Yep.
Massive meathead energy. And so
He's not yogurt boy. He is like full out meat boy, meathead boy, meat boy.
he is like I don't even know where to go with that if we're comparing to yogurt. This is like a rare steak with good seasoning, but like some red
Yeah.
wine, but also something real spicy in there. I don't know. I don't know what the metaphor is,
Yes, with
but
a heaping serving of soft, fluffy mashed potatoes.
But I think that we as a society spend a lot of time kind of like glorifying and elevating what are actually really toxic emotional patterns, especially in men, in terms
Mhm.
of like this idea that if you're quiet, it's a good thing,
Mhm.
when I don't think that that's the case. Because again, if people want to take that moment of outburst and
Mhm.
use it to judge everything else, I'm like, I think that the way that he called out Jason on not packing his own jeans shows more
Mhm.
about his emotional maturity. The way that, like, to your point, when,
Yes.
when Jason brought it up, he addressed it in an
Yes.
accountability, like,
Yep.
that is a sign of emotional maturity, not
Mm.
this 5 seconds.
Mm. Oh, 100%.
And so,
Self-awareness.
yeah.
Self-aware king.
And so in
We
that, like,
love a self-aware king.
love, love,
Yeah.
love,
So
like,
yeah, so you know what? I don't think that he is a walking red flag. I
no.
don't think we need to worry about our girl. I think that she loves that passion in him. You know, that is
Mhm.
she's gone from yogurt to steak.
I think that he has incredible emotional range. for
Mhm.
better and for worse, which is really what that long-term commitment
Mhm.
is all about. And so
So
I
let's talk
yeah.
about long-term commitment and how
Mhm.
you did not have long-term commitment with the new variation of the Tortured Poets Department
Mallory!
album, because I think it's pretty significant to point out that you canceled your order,
Yes.
and this might be controversial to some fans because I see it in the comments,
Mhm.
but there are very strong feelings, and I'm seeing more of a sway towards the feelings that I'm feeling, and I know that you're feeling about the way that Miss Taylor is constantly putting out all these just different variations of her albums in a way that is, I'm sorry, but it just comes off as greedy.
It gives
I saw someone made a comment about how when she released 1989 and every album came in a different color
yeah.
and you got different Polaroids with each version, but you had the same music, that's different. But gatekeeping a song, even though in 6 months you know you're going to release it, because that's another thing that bothers me. Either don't release it at all so that the people who paid the extra money actually have something that remains worth value, or don't do it.
Mhm.
Or say, hey, this is going towards my favorite charity. So for fun, I thought it'd be great to raise some funds by putting out this bonus album with this bonus track on it that's only available. But like, it's just become absurd.
Yeah, and I don't understand the reasoning behind it and like the and I mean and I see people like because the majority of the comments are frustrated about it with good reason. And then
Mhm.
there are people that it's like, "Oh, she's not forcing you to buy it. Like it's up to you. It's just put out there and you can choose." But part of what really gets me is that like you are creating a tiered experience for
Yes.
fans that is
Yes.
financially driven. And I
Yes.
think that that really
Yes.
fucking sucks because
Yes.
for anyone who says, "Oh, she's not forcing you to buy it," it's like,
Yeah.
well, for some people, they bought the original for the same
Yeah.
price that they could have gotten an additional song for, and like, and then to find
And
out,
some people were saying too, like, Taylor, I just spent $1,000 on your concert. Like, I don't have the money for it. Like, honey, you're a billionaire. We're already giving you everything that
and
we can
that's
give you
where,
for your talents.
yeah, that's where like
You're
my question
literally
is,
sucking us dry.
to
And
what
I'm sorry,
end?
but the ones who say, like, oh, well, you're not being forced and I love this, like, what's it like to have an endless flow of money in your wallet? Because
Or
if I had an endless flow, okay, I would splurge on the things that I want. But the reality is, the average Joe, I'm an average Joe, we don't have that. And it
just
really
as us
sucks.
average
It
yogurt
really feels like
people,
a
we're not eating steak.
we're
We're getting watered down yogurt.
not even eating yogurt because we're
Oh,
lactose intolerant. We're eating lactose-free dairy over here, which also costs more money.
and
So
it's so much worse.
I can't afford your albums because I can't eat lactose.
Yeah.
And yes, I
So
need to spend more money on my groceries to support my dietary needs.
But still, I miss the days of there's the regular album for X dollars, and there's the deluxe one for
Yes.
Y dollars, where you get
Yes.
all the things. And so,
It's
yeah, so
just ridiculous.
I had initially I didn't do the first order of Tortured Poets just because there was a lot going on. I didn't. And
Mhm,
then the special edition like manuscript one came out
mhm,
and I like missed the deadline for that, but then I looked at the site and it came with like the bookmark and the patch and all the things and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I like fun things." So then when the Bolter edition came out, I was like, "Great." Placed my order for the Bolter edition. And then the Albatross came out and then I was
mhm,
like, well, fuck you. What's next? A red herring? Is there a swan?
mhm.
Is there
Well,
an eagle?
but the thing is, there's gonna be more because with Midnight, she came out with 2 different editions of it.
And I,
With with Evermore, with Folklore, like, she has all these
I,
different like, this is just a thing now.
but that's the thing. Like, I care less about the different album covers. If she was like, yeah, like I think you said this before, like if you have different album covers, but the music is the same,
That's what I mean. Like,
fine,
I
go
feel like the
off.
album
I
covers
don't
is a
care.
collector's thing.
Yes, but to
If
make
she's
it,
doing things for collective terms, like, oh, you want to be a collector, whatever.
yeah, like
When
Midnight's
you're
it made the
holding back,
clock, right?
yeah, but when you're holding back the music, which is what your fans adore you for,
Yeah.
we're here for the music. We
Yep.
want music. We've made you a billionaire because we support your music. So if we're spending all this money so that you've become a billionaire off of your music, then you should be giving us your music, not gatekeeping it,
Yeah.
right?
I yeah.
And I know like people may hear that and be like, "Oh, well, she deserves to be paid for the music she makes." That's
Well,
not what
she's
I'm
being
saying.
but
What
it's
I'm
the
saying
principle.
is if it's she could do a deluxe version. If she put 5 bonus songs on a CD,
I paid $31 for a deluxe version with 3 extra songs. I would.
yeah,
Like, pay $21 or whatever it is for the regular version and
yeah.
then $31 for
But
the
also
extras.
but also, to know that these songs are going to be released anyways, it's like you're giving it away for free later anyways. So
And do you
you're
know what
charging people who will pay for something that you're gonna give to for
I
everybody
know.
free in the next 6 months. Like
And part of
that's
what really kills me is it's like and this is part of where like Taylor's music is a bit of an addiction. And I know this in terms of like, the opposite
Of
of
course it is. This is why she is a billionaire, and this is why people will show up 2 days in advance to buy merch off her merch truck. Like, they
yes.
people just want every little ounce of
But
her that
it's
they
like
can get.
when she released like the You're Losing Me as part of the was it the Till Dawn edition or something like that at the New
Sure.
Jersey
I can't
show. It
even
was like
keep track at this
it was a
point.
limited edition thing, whatever. I bought the digital version so I could get You're Losing Me,
Mhm.
and I lived in that song for
Mhm.
months. It is still one of my favorites. And so that's like what really gets me with all of this is that at my core, I'm just like, I want these songs. I
But
can't
also
afford it because you have to pay individual shipping as well every time, and it's
yeah.
$15 shipping.
And also, how about rather than do this hard copy, like you're gonna launch it digitally later, like why not just sell them as digital individual copies?
Yes.
You're going to sell so many more copies of it, and people aren't gonna be pissed off that they have to buy the same songs they've already bought 3 times.
And there's this piece that like, because I get I'm in marketing. I get marketing.
Mhm,
Like I
mhm.
know that there is a reason to like not share certain information and
Yes.
da 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 da
The
da da.
breadcrumb, like it's yes.
And and she exists in a stratosphere that no one else does at this point. She doesn't need conventional marketing. And like, if she were just transparent with her fans,
Mhm.
like,
Yes.
I think that that's what we really want. And so I want to switch gears here. I know you have to like go put your kid to bed shortly. So we're on borrowed
Oh,
time
yes.
here.
Yeah.
But before we
Oh,
wrap
yes,
up
we have
here,
family. Mhm.
so we do have families. This isn't the only thing that
That's
we do.
right. It's we're not just in our own world. Okay.
Um, but the thing that I wanted to touch on was the fact that she is switching up the surprise songs at the Eras tour. So Taylor recently erased her rule of no
Yes.
repeats unless a mistake or midnights, and she said she wants to use all of the colors in
But the
her palette,
mashup
the
the
mashups,
mashups
and
are a work of
so
art.
the segue for that was her being transparent and honest with us, right?
Yes.
And so what I love so much about the surprise sets right now is I think that we're seeing Taylor be more vulnerable and transparent in real time with us than
Mhm,
she has been in a
mhm.
very long time.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
her at this stage in the tour versus the beginning of the tour is incredibly different, not just because she's
Oh,
familiar with the set,
no.
but like, the song I Can Do It With a Broken Heart rings
Yeah,
so true when you watch old
yeah,
Eras clips.
yeah.
And so I think that she has let her guard down
Mhm,
in that respect
mhm.
in a really big
Well,
way.
and she's just not in a relationship anymore where she has to think about the other person's feelings in regard to what she shares about her own life. and her own personality,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I'm sure,
Mm-hmm.
and this is a topic for another day, but I'm sure that when the Tortured Poets Department comes out, we're going to, like, obviously it's a whole breakup album, and I feel like she couldn't even be her authentic self separate from him, because when she was with him, he was always afraid that somehow it would suck him in too. So it
Mm-hmm.
was like, either you be completely closed off, like, she wasn't doing it. She was wearing masks and wigs going out in public,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, it was like he didn't even want an inch of her authentic self. Anything that was outside of TV interviews, he didn't want her out there, almost because he was afraid that he'd get sucked into it too.
Mm-hmm.
And that is so isolating for somebody who has as big a personality and who is such an influence in the world. Like, it had to have been so painful for all those years when you know that you are a star that was meant to shine and you were meant to change lives, because she does. She has.
Mm-hmm.
She has been a therapeutic outlet with her music, with her personality, with her sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
And to have to cage that for 6 years just to make the person that you quote unquote love accept you, like, the
Mm-hmm.
conditions of this
Putting
relationship,
someone first only works when you're
when
in
you're in their
their
top
top
five.
5.
Mhm.
Ouch. Yeah, I think that like
By the way,
for a
I'm
woman to be
going
told
out
she's
tonight.
too much is
Mhm.
mm-mm.
But even think about that line in, we're going way off on a I'm going off on a tangent, but even in the line in Bejeweled when she says, "By the way, I'm going out tonight." Like, in hindsight, now
Midnight's was a
knowing
threat.
how enclosed she was in that relationship, just her saying, "By the way, I'm going out tonight." When we find out that she's been forced to wear wigs and masks when she goes out in public with him because he's so afraid of her being free in public. "By the way, I'm going out tonight." Oh, like, now I just, okay, I gotta go. I gotta go listen to this song and reappreciate it with the new lens of what Tortured Poets is gonna be,
I know. I just can't wait to see how Tortured Poets is gonna have me rewriting Bejeweled or Midnight's.
and how much I'm gonna cry, and just like tears of joy, tears of pain,
So many
just
tears.
tears of overwhelm.
I love crying. I love crying so much. Teardrops on my
We should
microphone, teardrops on my laptop, teardrops on my duvet,
teardrops on my
teardrops.
guitar.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't
I don't
played my
have a guitar, I
guitar
don't
in
play guitar,
years.
but
I used
um
to, not anymore.
we should do we should commit to doing a live reaction to Tortured Poets. I think it
I
would
know.
be amazing.
I was already thinking though how you do that. Like, do we just like both put on headphones and play it, but then like record ourselves? Because like I also don't want to miss a minute of listening
I
to it. And I
know.
have this thing in my head where it's like as soon as it like hits the airwaves, I have to listen to the whole thing.
Oh, me too. And I have to read the lyrics as they scroll on the screen on my phone.
Yes, because
Like,
otherwise it goes too fast to catch.
yes, I need to catch every word.
So we're just gonna be like recording ourselves wearing headphones, being like,
Yeah.
"Ah, she said what?" Yeah,
Yes. I think we should.
I think so
We'll
too.
figure it out. We'll figure it out. It's 2024. There's got to be some sort of way to do this.
I don't know. People do things. It's fine. Okay, well, I mean, I
I'm so glad that we finally made this work again. Episode
blow
2, 1 month
eyelashes off my
in.
keyboard. I know we are
To
wanting
be
to
fair, my son was deathly ill last week. So we had plans, but they just, life happened and it happens. And
plans just is how I feel about plans. So,
yeah,
yes. So
exactly.
all of that to say, I'm glad that we got to sit down today. We still don't exactly know what happened with Scott Swift, but we have question marks about how it was reported and who the bias leans towards. As far as Travis, we love ourselves an emotional king and are
An emotional steak and mashed
like
potatoes. Hmm.
with some gravy.
Hmm. We like
Yep.
the main course.
And we would just love for Taylor to stop with all of these multiple versions. We just want one deluxe version and one regular version. And
Yeah.
please just give us all the music because we are completely broke because we love you so much.
Yes, and we're going for our second time, your third time to the Eras tour. Like we're spent.
And then I'm
We're
going to a fourth one
what?
because I'm
Oh yeah,
going
you're going to
because it's my
too.
birthday week. Taylor came to Vancouver for my birthday.
Your
Thank you,
birthday.
Taylor. My birthday, as we're calling it. Um,
Birthday.
if you're in the Vancouver area, by the way, and you're listening and you want to do any friendship bracelet making parties in advance of the Eras tour, do reach out to me because I have so many beads and love making bracelets. Vigilantegifts.com, sponsor the podcast. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I'm very much looking forward to it. I hope we get a whole new set list.
Yes. Out of the Woods I just need to hear Out of the Woods live once in my life. I've waited for it for way too long. It's my favorite. I can't even say it's my favorite anymore because she's had so many come
I
out
know. I'm
since
like,
then.
when I say favorite, I'm like
Long
top
time.
13.
It's very high up there in a special place in my heart. And I
Yes.
still belt it out almost every single day. And when I get to the bridge, when she sings, I remember when you hit the brakes too soon.
Soon.
20
20
stitches in
stitches
a
in a
hospital
hospital
room.
room. Yes.
Okay, we need to wrap this up. Ruining this.
Good for
We
us.
were
I'm really
doing
proud of
so
us.
good, and then I went unhinged. It's time to hinge back up. I need
I
to
was
get
going
my
to say,
kids.
as if you were hinged in the first place.
I know.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mallory, for making this time to sit down and gab with me about things that no one else will gab with me about.
Yep. But they're
Um,
listening because they're commenting.
yeah, thank you. I already have to look up the name again. I'm like, was it
Richard,
Ricky? Ricky for eight eight
four
eight
four four
eight.
eight
If
eight
you
eight
hear this,
eight.
please email us. We'll send you a friendship bracelet that says no yogurt boy. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. Love our
Awesome.
yogurt. Okay.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for
Bye.
listening. Bye.